What tiny Tennessee town is a gateway to the Smokies and was once home to a groundbreaking settlement school?
Hey, I'm Garrett, feeling super curious today.
And I'm Leah, thrilled to dive into today's topic. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
Today, we're exploring Pittman Center, Tennessee. Let me paint the picture for you. I was driving toward the Greenbrier section of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is that lush, less crowded corner with trailheads and river pull-offs. I rolled through a quiet valley, Emmert's Cove, and spotted a covered bridge that looked straight out of an old postcard. The sign read, Emmert's Cove, Covered Bridge. I stopped, of course, because I'm me. A local told me the town's city hall used to be part of a settlement school campus. I stepped inside the building. It has the solid wood and simple lines I love in old construction, and I learned it's the former home economics building from the 1920s Pittman Community Center. That was my gateway into the whole story of how education, river valleys, and the Smokies shaped a tiny town I'd basically stumbled across by happy accident.
So basics first. Pittman Center is a small town in Sevier County, Tennessee, just about 8 miles east of Gatlinburg. It sits in a broad valley called Emmert's Cove along the middle fork of the Little Pigeon River. A cove, in the Appalachian sense, is a small, sheltered valley with good soil and water, so people settled there early. The town borders Great Smoky Mountains National Park to the south, which is a protected mountain area on the Tennessee-North Carolina line and a major destination for hikers, anglers, and families. That border makes Pittman Center a quiet gateway to the park, especially for folks heading to Greenbrier.
Transportation-wise, U.S. Route 321 runs by, basically linking Sevierville to Gatlinburg and skirting the park, while Tennessee Route 416 is the main road through town, tying U.S. 321 to U.S. 411 in Sevierville. Tourism is the backbone of the local economy because park visitors come through for scenery and trail access. The Greenbrier entrance is inside Pittman Center, which nudges people to stop for supplies or a breather. It's a small community. The population was 477 in 2000, 502 in 2010, and 454 in 2020. There's also a long tie to the settlement school movement. A settlement school, by the way, is a school set up in rural Appalachia, often by churches or philanthropies, to provide education and community services where public options were scarce.
Let's open the book on the early days. One name you'll hear right away is Frederick Emmert. Born in 1754 in Pennsylvania to German immigrant parents, he fought in the American Revolution and later moved into this valley that now carries his name. Emmert's Cove reflects that legacy. The timing of his arrival is a little fuzzy, somewhere between 1785 and 1793, which was common for frontier records.
Another key figure is Johann Martin Schultz, born in 1740, a Revolutionary War surgeon who also came into Emmert's Cove. In 1780, he and Frederick Emmert served alongside John Sevier and the Over-Mountain Men at the Battle of Kings Mountain. The Over-Mountain Men were frontier militia from west of the Appalachians who made a big mark on the Southern campaign. Schultz died in 1787, but his family line stayed rooted in the valley.
And there's a family connection here that matters. Martin S.E. Schultz, Johann's son, married Barbara Ann Emmert, Frederick's daughter. That marriage tied two founding families together, and in a small mountain community, those kinship webs are the scaffolding of leadership, land use, and shared work over generations.
The Treaty of Dumpling Creek in 1785 is the hinge point. That treaty forced a cession of what's now Sevier County to the short-lived state of Franklin. The state of Franklin was an unrecognized breakaway effort in what became eastern Tennessee. Once that cession happened, the valley shifted from a Cherokee hunting ground to territory open to Euro-American settlers, which is how families like the Emmerts and Schultzes moved in.
Why did that treaty change things so fast for the Cove?
Because basically, it redrew the map for who claimed authority. Once land was considered ceded, settlers followed, and local leaders like John Sevier encouraged that movement. Add in good soil and a river corridor, and Emmert's Cove looked like an opportunity for small farms and churches to take root.
We should also weave in Daniel Wesley Reagan, born 1803, from a family tied to early Gatlinburg. His presence shows how these valleys and ridges linked communities. Emmert's Cove sits against Webb Mountain, a ridge that shapes the roads and sightlines today, creating that tucked-away feel with long views toward the Smokies.
And settlements followed the river. Homes, schools, and churches clustered near the middle fork of the Little Pigeon River. Even now, the main civic area of Pittman Center sits just above where Webb Creek meets that middle fork, mirroring early patterns of where to live and learn.
Fast forward to the 1900s, and things take a big turn. In 1910, a statewide survey called out Sevier County as the Tennessee county most in need of educational facilities. That's a serious gap. Enter Dr. John Burnett in 1919. Burnett was a Methodist minister who visited the Smokies and envisioned a low-tuition, self-sustaining school right here to serve mountain families.
He got a crucial boost from Reverend Eli Pittman of Elmira, New York. With Pittman's help, the Methodist Episcopal Church endorsed Burnett's plan, and they raised $15,000, which was real money in 1919. That funding let Burnett move from idea to action.
Burnett then purchased Garfield Scott's farm, perched just above the confluence of Webb Creek and the Middle Fork. That spot is right by today's town center. In late 1920, the Pittman Community Center opened, named to honor Reverend Pittman's backing, and 100 students enrolled right out of the gate.
The school grew fast. Soon it had 15 buildings and around 240 students, running on an annual budget of $9,000. To keep costs down, the school adopted work-study practices before that term was common. Students canned tomatoes, grew apples, and handled maintenance on campus. That taught practical skills and kept the lights on, literally and figuratively.
And the campus was more than classrooms. It included a general store, a post office, and even a small hospital. For a tucked-away valley, that's a lifeline. In simple terms, this was school, community center, and basic services hub all under one umbrella.
That model fit the rhythms of mountain life. Cash was scarce, so value came from skills and shared labor. The school didn't just educate, it stitched the community tighter together, prepping students for local livelihoods while boosting the valley's resilience.
Can I ask a simple why here? Why did a church-backed school, rather than the county, have to step in first?
Because public systems hadn't caught up. Rural Appalachia had scattered populations and limited tax bases, so churches and philanthropies bridged the gap. Later, when the county could sustain it, the public system absorbed the school's mission.
That handoff is the next chapter. In 1955, the Sevier County Board of Education bought the Pittman School, shifting it from church-backed to county public. Then in 1963, it merged with the Pi Beta Phi High School in Gatlinburg to create Gatlinburg Pittman High School. Pi Beta Phi, by the way, had started a settlement school in Gatlinburg in 1912, so there's crossover here.
That high school is still the local anchor for older students, and it sits less than a mile from Pittman Center's limits. Also, Sevier County runs all the schools countywide. No town operates its own separate system. That centralized approach traces back to moves like the 1955 purchase.
Meanwhile, only one original school building survived on the old campus, the Home Economics Building. After the town incorporated in 1974, the Methodist Episcopal Church gave that building to the town for use as City Hall. In 1996, it earned a spot on the National Register of Historic Places. That's a big nod to its educational legacy.
Zooming out to the modern town, Pittman Center incorporated in 1974, covering most of Emmert's Cove. It leans into tourism gently. You've got the Greenbrier Park entrance right there, US 321 moving visitors along, and TN 416 connecting to Sevierville for county services. Even the road signs, with gold lettering on olive green, echo the Smokies forest palette. Nice touch.
There are quirky details I love. Bent Creek Golf Village, a resort in town, was once owned by the town itself. That's unusual for a place this small. And public safety is sized to fit. The police department has a chief and 3 full-time officers. It's lean but tuned to a community that swells with visitors seasonally and stays quiet otherwise.
And we can't forget that Emmert's Cove Covered Bridge. It was built in 2000 to honor Frederick Emmert. It's modern construction with an old-school style, and it keeps that pioneer story in daily view. Demographically, the town remains small with modest incomes. By 2020, the population was 454, and the community, while still largely white non-Hispanic, has seen slight diversification.
All right, let's take on a lingering question tied to those frontier years. Did Frederick Emmert actually fight at the Battle of Brandywine during the American Revolution? Some sources say he probably did, but the wording itself shows uncertainty. Brandywine was a 1777 battle near Philadelphia, a major engagement with tricky records for individual soldiers, especially from frontier units.
I'm good with embracing the uncertainty while appreciating the arc of his service. We know Emmert fought in the Revolution. We know he served with people like John Sevier and showed up at Kings Mountain in 1780 through corroborated accounts. If Brandywine is a probable but unproven stop on his path, the bigger truth still stands. His military service and later settlement shaped the cove that bears his name.
I hear you, but I lean the other way. For me, pinning someone to a specific battle requires documentary clarity, like muster rolls or pension applications that spell it out. Without that, I'd rather say he fought in the Revolution and leave Brandywine as an open possibility rather than a fact. It protects the story from getting chipped away later if new evidence contradicts it.
That's fair. Maybe the best phrasing is, Emmert's Revolutionary War service is documented, and some family or local histories suggest Brandywine involvement, but it isn't conclusively verified. That way we respect both the legacy and the limits of the records.
There's also a pop culture thread that keeps Pittman Center on the map. Dolly Parton, the country music icon and businesswoman from Sevier County, was born in a one-room cabin at Locust Ridge, which many describe as near or in the Pittman Center area. Exact attributions vary between saying she was born near the town or within the general Pittman Center area, but either way, the association shines a big cultural spotlight on this valley.
And that kind of connection draws visitors who might then notice the settlement school story, the Greenbrier entrance, and the cove's deeper history. Pop culture opens the door, and the town's layered past invites people to stick around a bit longer. How about a what if? What if the Treaty of Dumpling Creek hadn't ceded Sevier County to the state of Franklin in 1785? In that scenario, Emmert's Cove could have remained a Cherokee-controlled hunting ground much longer, and the settlement timeline would shift dramatically.
If that happened, families like the Emmerts and Schultzes might not have established homesteads here when they did, or at all. No settler kinship network, no early churches on the river bends, and likely no Emmert's Cove name. The valley's story could center on Cherokee stewardship, language, and seasonal use of the land, rather than small farms and a covered bridge memorial.
Tourism might look different, too. Instead of a gateway town tied to Greenbrier, we might see a protected cultural landscape with interpretive sites focused on Cherokee history and ecology. Maybe fewer roadside services, more guided heritage programs. The rhythms of visitation would be shaped by cultural protocols as much as trail maps.
And no settlement school in 1920, which means no home economics building turning into City Hall, no National Register listing in that form. Education for the area might have evolved through entirely different institutions. The knock-on effects touch everything, from street signage to how kids get to class on a Monday morning.
It's a reminder that one treaty line can reroute a community's future. In our timeline, that line opened the door to the Emmerts, the Schultzes, and eventually to Dr. Burnett's school and a small gateway town beside the Smokies. Change that, and the entire map of memory changes with it.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through history.
Stay curious and catch you next time on Laid Back Learning.